First of all, they are 19th century models. These were produced just after the American Civil War, and both of them are rail cars dedicated to the care of the wounded. The one in front of me here is actually a car for the preparation of food and for the feeding of ambulatory patients and staff. The one next to us is a representation of one of the railway cars specifically developed for the evacuation of the wounded. Now, the Union Army had a number of these cars built during the Civil War. Unfortunately for the Confederacy, supplies being short as they were, and the inability to keep up the railroads, especially late in the war, limited the amount of use they had of specialized cars like this for evacuation, although certainly others were modified for the purpose. But what's so interesting to me about those is they represent a first step, too, in an understanding of the law of armed conflict when it comes to humanitarian law. When we start to think of treaties like the Red Cross, which the U.S. wouldn't sign until some 20 years after the war, these railway cars represent a first step towards recognizing in the United States that there's a higher law when it comes to the wounded. When we're dealing with wartime, we're dealing now with humanitarian issues that we had never really dealt with in any previous war. So when these cars started to come in existence, both armies, the Union and the Confederate, signed some treaties that said basically if a car and a train is only used for the wounded or the sick, that it will not carry munitions, that it's properly identified, the engines painted red running lights on all of the cars, and clearly the word hospital on at least one portion of that these cars were protected, that the wounded that were being transported would not be molested by the enemy. And in fact, these are the only representations other than drawings we really have are these models from the period. These were designed to show people exactly how they worked, and when you look at them, they're really marvels of technology. We have in here an office for the hospital steward. We have stoves to keep the patients warm in cool weather. We have shades that come down over the windows to block out the light. The beds are suspended in such a way they were actually hung on heavy rubber bands, really, that had a give. They were about a 1-inch square rubber bands that could allow a little bit of give to take some of the shock out of the ride. They could provide food. Water was provided right in here, along with a toilet in all of these. At the time, they were the best that there could possibly be. And these models are so well built, each individual piece perfectly made to show the public after the war what was provided for the wounded. And today, this is the only real three-dimensional insight we have.